Welcome, everyone.
Good evening.
Hi there.
Now, I heard from a little birdie that there are extra credit being given away for the homework. I'm not sure. It literally started. We're going to give it about 1 or 2 minutes for a few people to log on. We understand that some of you all are enjoying the weather outside and trying to bring it in.
Samantha, were we supposed to email you our homework, or were we going to go over it on this?
Oh, no, you're going to talk about it with Professor Holmes.
We're going to go over it. We're going to go over it in class tonight.
Me, Dr. Holmes?
Yeah, I'm just a caveat here.
Bonnie says she can't hear anybody.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Sam.
Miss Brown is having some issues.
Sam, can you hear me?
I think it's just Miss Brown. I haven't, yeah.
No, my computer just said your mic is not working, so I had to do something with the settings.
Oh.
I don't know what. Are we ready to start, or are we still waiting on?
We can actually get started. It's 6:03, and yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
Well, let's go ahead and get started then. Good evening, everybody. I am Leah LaRue. For those of you who don't know me, I do see a couple of new names that I don't know. So I'm Leah, and I work in the Department of City Planning with the neighborhood planning units. Hi, Robin. Oh my gosh, so good to see you. Really good to see you. And I'm joined tonight by the best team at the City of Atlanta, hands down, period, point blank. And they will introduce themselves. Daniel.
Good evening, everyone.
Daniel is our manager of resources and support. And I see Tony, who is our program manager for outreach and engagement.
Hello.
And Nicole is our community planner, also in resources and support.
Hello, everyone.
I thought I saw Kip's name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, there's Kip.
Good evening.
Kip is our resources and support coordinator. And I saved the best for last. Samantha Terry, whom most of you should already know, is our NPU registrar. It looks like we have a full house. And she's also the program manager for training and education initiatives for the Department of City Planning. So really glad to have you all here. I was kind of sort of stalling to wait for the presentation thing to pop up, but I think I can freestyle it a little bit. Welcome, of course, to NPU University. We're really happy to be able to produce this class, which is one of our most popular classes, Zoning Fundamentals 2. If you're here, it is because you have already taken the prerequisite course for this one, which is Zoning Fundamentals 1. So congratulations on completing that class and making it to the second one. Please do keep your microphone muted until the appropriate time. You can use reactions if you feel so moved to clap or give a thumbs up if something particularly moves you. And to ask a question or make a comment during Q&A, please raise your hand to get into the queue, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. Different instructors handle Q&A differently. Some will ask for all questions to be held until the end. Some will take questions as they arise or at designated points. Just, excuse me, follow the instructor's lead on that. And of course, as is the case for all of our MP University classes, all questions must be relevant to course content. In order to raise your hand, you will click on the button at the bottom of your screen that says reactions. And if you click on that button at the very bottom of the pop-up, it should say raise hand. You can raise your hand that way. If you're unable to find it or have any other challenges and can't raise your hand that way, you can always type in raise hand in the chat and someone will acknowledge you. That's all I have. Thank you so much for being here. And at this point, without further delay or further ado, I'm going to introduce you to one of my favorite colleagues, and I think she's everybody's favorite colleague, or at least everybody on my team. We all appreciate and have a ton of respect and admiration for our Director of the Office of Zoning and Development, Kieta Holmes.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Zoning Fundamentals 2. It has been my pleasure to speak with some of you since the time we first met after Zoning Fundamentals and I issued the homework. I'm so happy that you all were excited to do this homework, and I am ready to hear what your proposals are tonight. I did not create a presentation because tonight is all about you and what your presentation ideas are. As you remember, the homework assignment was to create a fake rezoning request for 3131 Campbellton Road and any of the adjacent parcels near that parcel to come up with a development proposal. I'm sure Sam has told me that many of you have completed the homework, so we will probably use the full 2 hours to do your presentations, and I'll provide answers to your questions and notes on your presentations. Please also remember that there is a Zoning Fundamentals 3 course that is associated with this tract. I will likely do some type of test or quiz in Zoning Fundamentals 3, but haven't really decided what the last course content is, but you will be more than prepared. And of course, at any time, reach out to me or anybody on my staff to assist you. So with that, who is the first person that would like to do their presentation? Raise your hand. Not all at one time, but everybody raise your hand. Who's the first person who wants to present? Please do not be afraid. We are all here to learn with each other. And if no one raises their hand, I'm going to call on somebody. Did I see a hand go up? Okay, go ahead, Jared.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Would you like me to share my screen or just tell you about it?
Sam, does he have the ability to share his screen?
I'm happy to just read through some summary information.
I think you may be able to share. If you can't share, Jared, if you try to share, if not, then just go ahead and do your
I'm sorry,
presentation.
I didn't realize I was muted. You absolutely can share your screen, Mr. Evans. I'm sorry.
No, it says disabled participant screen sharing. You'll have to, or that's what it says for me anyway. I don't know. Jared, go ahead and click it and see if maybe it could just be my error.
No, that's what it said for me also. But here we go.
There you go. Thanks, Sam.
Are you guys seeing the application now?
Yes, we are.
Okay. My thought was to put a tiny house village on that 10-acre spot called Campbellton Cottages. By my calculations, you could easily fit 171 units. My suggestion is to rezone it from SPI 20 SA4, and I chose PD CS, which is conservation, and I've forgotten what the S is for. Let's see, would you like to see some of the paperwork or so I figured each of these tiny houses would be about 750 square feet. That zoning type that I suggested, the PDCS requires 5-foot setbacks from each of the little lots. So I think that gets you to 850 square feet per lot, including the setback. And you could fit 3 times the number of houses that are there, but I know you need little roads and walkways, and I wanted to include some green space or something. So only 1/3 of the required land will hold houses, and that gets you to 171 lots with houses. I believe that there's a portion for affordable units. For rentals, I think this is where we're at. Some portion of these would be for rent. Some portion would be for sale. I think it's 57 units I came up with that would be as rentals, 1 bedroom, 1 baths, 750 square feet. Market rate being like 1150, and the affordable proposed rent amount being $900, and that's at 80% of 1150. Another chunk of the houses would be for sale, 114 of those. And I believe, if I understand this paperwork right, that I don't know, I chose 20, if 25% need to be affordable, I'm not sure I'm reading that right, but I said, okay, 29% of those can be affordable. I think cost per square foot for building a house is somewhere around $250 a square foot, which gets you a little below 180,000 for the cost of one of these houses, and 80% of that is 144,000 would be a discounted rate. The conservation zoning thing mentioned some stuff about solar and wind being allowed to go on there. So I thought that there could be some portion of that, some of the houses or all the houses equipped with that for demonstration purposes. And that's the gist of it.
Okay, so Jared, I'll start with my questions first, and I'll start from the perspective of the neighborhood and NPUR. So Mr. Evans, SBI 20 subarea 4 is a subarea of the Greenbrier Town Center. And I noticed that you're requesting to change this particular area from an SPI district to a PD district. Can you tell me why you chose that category?
Well, from what I looked at, I mean, I didn't see any minimum square footage requirements, so I knew that they could be tiny. It seemed like this, I didn't read every possible zoning type, but I saw that seemed like it could be something. So that's sort of how I landed on PD. I didn't read all the PD types, and I did see something about the solar and the wind, which I thought was kind of a neat little niche thing that might be appealing to some people who would be drawn to a tiny house. And so that's about the extent of my thought process on that.
So NPUR isn't supportive of tiny houses. We would prefer that houses be of a minimum size of 1,200 square feet. If for our support, would you be willing to change the size of your homes from 750 to 1,200?
I mean, there's more room available on the 10-acre lot to make the houses bigger. And I don't know off the top of my head how that impacts the number of units you would get, but I would hope to keep the price of the houses down below 200,000 if possible.
Okay, and so are you also asking, I understand that you will be providing these homes for rent and for sale at an affordable rate. Are you going to be, after your rezoning, are you going to be asking for public dollars from Invest Atlanta?
I did indicate on the application that I would, and I did not indicate what kind that would be. I think I only said that I would apply for anything and everything I could get.
Okay, okay. Is there anyone else from the NPU that's on this call? Theoretically, everybody's in the NPUR. Is there anyone else in this call that would like to ask Mr. Evans questions? No one, Jacob?
Just a quick question. I've never seen that particular type of zoning before. I have seen the PDH or PD dash OC, PD dash MU, but where would that particular zoning, where is that located at?
I'm looking at some notes I jotted down when I did this the other day. I think this is section 16-19 E-002. If I'm reading my handwriting correctly, in the building, in the city code.
Did they give you a type of like a description of the zoning as what it would say for the actual description of it?
Oh, I'm sure it said something. I didn't memorize it, and I don't have another screen up with it at this moment.
Okay, thank you.
Here's some in my section 16-19 E.003. And next to that, I have something written that says single family, urban gardens, short-term rentals. I think these are just all things that would be permitted in that, which is one of the, I guess, seemed like something to write down on Friday.
Okay, thank you, Jacob. Ms. Walker, you have questions for Mr. Evans.
Oh, yes, thank you. Very thorough presentation, by the way, but I was just wondering, where did you see the SPI for Camerton Road? I went on the GIS and I didn't see it. So where did you find the SPI for Camerton Road?
I think I found that on the GIS map that the city has. So when I put in 3131 Camelton Road, I believe it tells you what the current zoning is.
Okay, because what I saw was C1, so I'm already thrown off, but thank you.
And correct me if I'm wrong on where you can find that information, but I think that's where I found it.
You are correct, Mr. Evans. If you do go to GIS, you will find 3131 Campbellton Road is SBI 20 sub area 4. Ms. Cornell, do you, or Miss or Mr. Cornell, do you have questions for Mr. Evans?
Yeah, just a quick question. Since you're talking about residences, I was interested to know how you were going to address the ingress and egress out of that parcel. That part of Campbellton Road is kind of busy. It does front on Mount Gilead. And then the other question is, are you allowing for any kind of parking?
In my application, I said that each unit could have one parking place. And as far as ingress and egress, you know, it seemed to be at a corner of an intersection, and it would have access to both of the roads, and I was hoping that would be adequate enough. But I mean, I have to confess I'm not familiar with the intersection personally.
Yeah, I think you would need to have a right-hand turn lane on Campbellton to get in there. And I'm not sure how it would work on Mount Gilead.
Okay.
Clarice Jackson?
Hi, good evening. Thank you. Yeah, she was correct about the the existing zoning SPI-20 sub area 4. And my question is, I've heard of tiny houses, but I'm not that familiar with the actual setup. Mr. Evans, can you tell me how the wastewater would be handled for those? Do they have septic tanks, or would the current facilities, city facilities handle that many units?
Yeah, that's a
Wastewater
good
and sewer?
question. Yeah, I definitely thought it would be hooked up to city sewer and water, and never thought of a septic tank. Um, and as far as, yeah, I know, I assume that developers would pay an impact fee if, upgrades needed to be made to the city facilities to cover that cost.
Okay. And in the future land use designation for this area, would tiny houses be allowed under the future use code?
My understanding is there isn't any minimum square footage required in this particular zoning and then in the city generally, but I don't know the exact answer to that question. I didn't think it would be an issue, particularly based on that PD.
Well, once again, in my findings, we would have to follow the Greenbrier Town Center Livable Initiative,
Mhm.
which was a study conducted back in 2001. And NPUR, I believe, adopted that into their plans for future development. And it is under Muni Code, where everything is spelled out for development and future development in that, but I didn't see where tiny houses would be acceptable. Do you know, Ms. Holmes, if tiny houses was included in that?
Yes, ma'am. There
Okay.
is no, Mr. Evans is correct. There is no minimum requirement for a size of a house in the city of Atlanta. We allow that to be dictated by the building code. So a house can be of any size. As long as single family residential is permitted in the sub area or in the PDCS, then the house could be of any size. But I'll go over that once we'll complete this round of questions.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Evans.
And last question, Ms. Cooper.
Yes, my quick question. The other lady already asked about the ingress and the egress, but my question is there a land use survey or a development thing that is required for this type of zoning on this particular kind of property? We have the 10 acres. So is there some other land use development that has to be gone through before approval would be done for the zoning?
Well, I don't know the answer to that.
And I don't understand the question, Ms. Cooper.
Okay, well, let me come back to that. Then the other question is, are we to be concerned with other zoning types near this property? Does the builder or the person who's inquiring have to do anything to look at all the other zoning types that are close to this property? Would it affect it at all?
I mean, if I were a real developer, I would probably take that into consideration as far as like a market analysis, sort of. If the neighboring property was zoned to be a sewage plant or something, I may not want to try to build a residential development, but I know I didn't do that for this homework assignment. And I would guess that if a developer thought that they could put something there and then it would be up to those surrounding properties to object to it, or, put their input in through the process.
Okay.
But I certainly don't know the answer. I would defer to Ms. Holmes.
Thank you, Jared, so much for being the first one to do your homework assignment or to present your homework assignment. It actually was a kind of a great idea, actually, to put tiny homes on that lot. But let's just go over a few things. The property is in SPI 20, which is the Greenbrier Special Public Interest District. That district was created several years ago because Greenbrier Mall and the adjacent areas were considered an area of regional significance. For if Jared really was trying to rezone this property, he would have had to go to NPUR first prior to submitting an application and find out whether or not they were interested in moving this particular parcel out of SPI 20. That is absolutely can be done. You can actually do it through a rezoning, but we would have to amend the SPI 20 code as well as rezone the property to PDCS. PDCS is Plan Development Conservation Subdivision. It is for properties that are really encumbered by some type of environmental issue. It's got wetlands on it. It's got a cemetery on it. It's got some type of endangered species or something that has been identified on it. It's really for districts that, parcels of land that really have some type of issue associated with it, where we're trying to, one, maintain whatever wetlands or whatever has been identified as an area that needs to be saved, but also an area that we want to develop. So we don't have any PDCS right now. No property is zoned PDCS, but it is available in the city, so should someone want to rezone it. Second to that, the questions related to ingress and egress and utilities would have been answered by the CRC committee, which you all will remember, CRC is the reviewing body that reviews all applications for rezoning and subdivision prior to an applicant's submittal of the application. At the CRC committee or concept review committee, all the reviewing agencies, zoning, buildings, fire, site development, transportation, they're all in a room the second or fourth Friday of every month, and they're reviewing the applicant's site plan and their tree protection plan, because the Operations Division is also a part of that committee. And they're giving the applicant technical responses to where their egress and ingress is. Because it can't be closer than a certain amount of feet to an existing intersection. They're giving them information with regard to utilities, and if there are issues with utilities that have already been found. They're giving them information related to detention ponds and retention ponds and where those may be proposed. So all that information is given to the developer prior to him submitting his rezoning application. And we do that so that he can, one, answer questions that are going to be asked, like where's your ingress and egress, in case he needs to move it. And then two, he is going to develop his permitting plans based upon that technical review information that he has received. And you all ask great questions of him if you are the NPU, of where things are going to go, what's going to happen, where are you going to ask for public dollars, because all those things can be used, one, to inform or create your conditions that can go in a community benefits agreement, or two, conditions that can go be attached to your rezoning. Okay. Oh, and then for Ms. Walker, let me share my screen. So Ms. Walker, if you were to go to GIS, which I'm already here, let me go back one screen. This is our new geographic information system screen, which I like to use the planning viewer because it gives me more information that I need to use when I'm trying to respond to an applicant or speaking to a developer in my office. So I select planning viewer. It takes a while for it to come up because there's several layers in there. When it comes up, you put in the address. And it goes to the site. So this is the site. What you see in this purple color is the land use. It has a mixed use land use category, and the property is zoned SPI 20 subarea 4. So the zoning district will be shown on the side. If you turn the layer on for the land use will be shown. It's neighborhood, land lot, lots of good information for someone if they're trying to fill out an application.
Thank you for that, because I used that other one, the one I think it has property info. I used that one and not this one.
Yes, ma'am. Mhm.
And I thought it had C1, but thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions before I move on to the next person? Okay, who's next? Okay, Ms. Walker, go ahead.
I would just like to go next because I don't have a presentation because mine is just completely opposite from Mr. Evans. All right.
Okay.
What I wanted to do with the property at 3131, I knew it was 10 acres, but I just wanted to renovate the building that's there. And I wanted to do senior living. I wanted senior living units in there. That's what I wanted to do with maybe a little office so the seniors could have a place to go when they need help. That's what I wanted to do. And I knew it had to be rezoned and land use. At first I looked at I was going to, I think, rezone it to PDOC. Then I wanted to do low density commercial or low density residential. When I went to the mini code, I really couldn't figure out when they say single family or multifamily, are those units or if they are units or houses. Honestly, I really couldn't figure it out. So then I looked at PDH. I looked at PDH to see if that could be used because it had 0 lot lines and it talked about detached and unattached. I looked at that, but my main premise was to just find a building that's similar to a ranch style for senior living units. So that's my premise. And I know I reached out to you and you did tell me to look at small area plans for Campbellton and Greenbrier. I did. There is a box that has that particular name. I did go there. I did see this livable thing that this other lady referenced. I did see that. But it seems like this would not be something that NPR would want. I would have to go to the NPUR and present. And I did know that you have to meet with the concept review board. I know further along, you have to be really serious about this process because the application fee to me would be kind of stiff. But that's just my idea, and I would just love to hear your comments.
Okay, are there any questions from the NPU? From NPU University, are there any questions? About Ms. Walker's proposal? She's proposing senior living on these 10 acres. Is the full 10 acres, is that right, Ms. Walker?
Yes, I would keep the full 10 acres because seniors like to get out as well. So as it has been mentioned, I don't have the full plan, but I know that they like green spaces. They like to plant flowers and things like that. So yes, I would love to keep the 10 acres, but just renovate that building. And even in looking at that plan, that Westgate Shopping Center is of interest in various ways. Interest in what you could do on that acreage. I'll put it that way.
Okay, Sandy?
Thank you. I had to get off mute. My question is, how many occupants had you thought about, Ms. Walker?
No, because I was just trying to get over the hurdle of the rezoning and the land use. If you could even, if if that was even a possibility by it being on Camilton Road, to be honest with you.
Gotcha.
So I didn't try to take the square footage or anything like that and try to divide it up, even though I know that this is some information that I would have to have for the NPU. But I didn't want the units to be that large, but I did want it to be where they would have a living room, bedroom, a kitchen area, you know, things like that. Just a small living area for seniors.
Okay. Ms. Clarice Jackson.
Hi, thank you. Yes, Ms. Walker, in the Muni Code, there was a chart that gave you all of the possibilities for development over there. And some of them had special permit, some were checked for SPU and things like this, but there's a very detailed chart of what actually could be built on that property.
Oh, okay. The only chart that I looked at was the one that just said Office of, which that says Office of Zone and Development, which Ms. Holmes has presented to us before. So that was what I was looking at. But are you saying that there's a specific one for Camilton Road?
Yes, in the Muni Code, yes, there is.
In the Muni Code for Camilton Road, okay.
Right, and it breaks down all of the sub areas and what can and cannot be done in those sub areas in terms of the
Okay.
facade and things like that. Mhm.
Okay, well, look, I just had more homework to do.
Okay. Any other questions from Ms. Walker? Okay, so Ms. Walker, if you were interested in creating a development for seniors, you could do that in sub-area 4 because sub-area 4 does allow multifamily.
Okay.
You have a 10-acre site, so you would have the ability to create quite a number of units. You could put a lot of density on that particular parcel since the parcel is so large. But my question would be, in addition to allowing the multifamily for seniors, what are the services that you're going to provide either on that site or near that site? Because it really doesn't have, there isn't a lot of services in that area specifically for seniors. I mean, there's a gas station, a liquor store, a muffler shop, a daycare center. I mean, there is the restaurant that is down the street, but what are the services that you're going to provide to this site? Because you have 10 acres, you've got a lot of non-residential space you could add there.
Right. I haven't thought that far out, to be honest. I really haven't. The only reason that I even considered this site is because personally I know seniors that would love to have ranch style homes, and they aren't in this for senior living, and they aren't in the city of Atlanta. So that's one of the reasons why I chose to do that on this particular site. As far as, but when I think about senior living, some of the services, you know, would something be to like a gym, or there's a movie theater there to have a recreation room, you know, things like that. They may not have laundry in the unit, and maybe they have laundry in the building, you know, just things like that, things that seniors need. But I really did also wanted to have a office, someone on site where seniors could go and get help if they needed anything in the unit, something like that.
Okay. All right. So we've heard tiny houses and we've heard senior living proposed for this site. All right. Who's next? Robin. Go ahead, Robin. You're fine. Go ahead.
I'm muted. I was not able to get my permit, my application through the process, it wouldn't accept the parcel number, but I put together the documentation that what I would be providing
I
with
was
it.
about to say, Robin, you said your dog ate your homework. You was about to
Yes,
get in trouble.
and the
Go ahead.
computer too. But let me show you what I had in mind. And it's the same parcel number that Mr. Evans was using. So I'm not sure. I typed it in anyway, long story. So hopefully you all are able to see. And what I started off with was researching the property to see what was there, to understand what the current zoning was. Currently it's zone C1, commercial 1. And as it has been said before, there's roughly 10 acres there. Some out parcels, some other buildings on the property, as well as this long strip mall. So my concept was to create an entertainment, if there's such thing as a low impact entertainment area. So the idea was, because when you look at the map, you can see that there's residential area behind that parcel on the other side of a undeveloped area that must have been used as a barrier. So I'm not interested in creating a large nightclub with a lot of noise and a lot of traffic. So the idea was to come up with some businesses that would benefit the community in terms of providing entertainment, some place to go and sit, a nice sit down restaurant. So the idea was to have no more than 2 stories. So I was thinking the zoning should be one of the MRs, low density, because I'm thinking some of my buildings would be 2 stories, especially the restaurant. So I was looking at that, trying to see if there was enough, if it would fit the concept that I had in mind. So along with this restaurant, I wanted to have an event hall that would host maybe weddings or anniversary parties, etc. I wanted to have a food business, like an incubator, one of those commercial kitchens that the people who run food trucks could use, because I understand there is some space behind the building that the owner had actually rented out some rear, I guess, space that he had back there that he was renting out. So I was going to use that, part of that, as a food truck storage area, up to 10 food trucks, I believe. I also wanted to have a little neighborhood jazz bar, jazz and blues bar. There's some out parcels, one of which looks like it was already originally some kind of a bar or some kind of a event space. So that was the whole idea, but not catering, I hate to say this, to the younger set, but catering to the older set, the folks with the money and who are interested in just sitting down and having a good time without a whole lot of raucous noise. And then also as part of that, I would have some Class A office space and provide some of the modern amenities that some of the local business people would appreciate. So I collected some photographs of some of the places I like to go as an idea to be able to show some kind of a concept. I'm not looking for anything over 2 stories, trying to keep it low density and keep the height relatively low. The way the space is already laid out, I can envision plenty of parking spaces to be able to support the businesses. The businesses would not all, they could operate at the same time, but they wouldn't draw the same, numbers of patrons. The restaurant would have more patrons probably than the event space. Event space obviously would be rented out when, sporadically according to availability. So it wouldn't be something that would be continuously going all the time. They're drawing a whole lot of traffic, competing with the restaurant, competing with the office space. My idea is to have viable businesses, but allow enough, gaps in the operation so that you wouldn't have so much traffic, because I'm concerned about that corner. And I know that we would need to have account for a right turn lane into it off the Camelton Road side. I know that we would need to have sidewalks, but just to make sure that we have a way to get in and out from that Hamilton Road side, we know that we would have to take up some of that space to put another lane in. But the idea was to have, I'm calling it low impact entertainment and provide business services as well as that incubator. And I was thinking I think it's MR2 for the height. But I did not want to stray too far away from the commercial retail. And when I looked at the SPI, it did allow for eating and drinking establishments, office space. All of that was just permitted. You didn't have to have anything special. And that was my idea. Comments, questions, help me out.
Other comments and questions from the NPU?
Yes.
I raised my hand.
I didn't see your hand, Andre, but go ahead.
When it comes to this, traffic concerns, is there any traffic mitigation measures being considered, considering the added people and traffic coming, throughout daytime and particularly nighttime?
Right. So the idea was for this restaurant, there are 2 out parcels on the space. One here and one over here in this corner. Behind this is residential across this north piece. And I believe there's residential over here on this side. The idea was to make sure that we could set up the traffic pattern in the parking lot so that if we decide to tear the whole building down, which is what I'm thinking is going to happen, that the part that would have the most traffic would be closest to this, to Hamilton Road, where it's already a busy, and there's traffic signals already there, rather than putting the restaurant on the end where there, would be mostly surrounded by these residential areas. That's about as far as I got in terms of traffic. And just to make sure we had an additional lane to handle, so we wouldn't have a backup on Hamilton Road of people trying to come in to the restaurant.
Follow-up question. There's a liquor store also adjacent to this parcel. And considering that we're talking entertainment and restaurants that will be open at night, are there any concerns or any kind of, again, mitigation efforts to reduce the possibility of the liquor store being abused as a part of the entertainment in this area?
Oh, that's a good question. Where's the liquor store? One of these 2 on the front here?
Right next to the gas station.
Oh, that's a good point. One of the things that I was thinking about was, I don't know what they call it, noise dampening installation in the buildings to make sure that most of the activity, most of the noise would be dampened and kept to the interior. I hadn't really thought anymore about, because you're right, if there's a liquor store on the corner, then that would be adding to the noise and the activity out there in the parking lot. So one thing that I know we could do is create, put in as part of the landscaping, as part of the outdoor streetscape, would it be put in a fence around that backside there, sort of corralling the area so that it could be monitored with cameras. I think that's what I would do.
Okay. And last question, can I get in one more?
Go ahead, Andre.
All right, so
You're doing great. Go ahead.
the neighborhood is very sensitive to clubs. This used to be an area that had a club up the street. There's a club that we absolutely hated and have shut down, and the SBI kind of pushes against that. Are there any kind of measures or things that you're planning to do to ensure that the restaurant remains a restaurant and doesn't become a de facto club?
Oh, no, because, one of the things that happens after a certain time, there's a DJ somewhere and the noise gets very loud and the atmosphere changes. This will strictly be a restaurant. We're not going to be providing and I'm thinking more of like a no mosque kind of location. So I want to bring in some kind of ethnic, African ethnic kind of a decor and menu. So we're not going to be catering toward providing live music in the restaurant, but we will have live music in the jazz bar that I envision for this area. So yes, we're aware that that's an issue, and that's not, and the way we're going to guard against that is we're not providing a dance floor in the restaurant. There will be no live music, so to speak, at the restaurant. And as far as the event space, I know that sometimes there's issues with people holding birthday parties. It's going to be capped at a certain head count and strictly monitored, because we know that those situations can sometimes also get out of hand. We're not looking to have activities after 12 midnight. So we're looking to use that as a way to cap some of the activity on that parcel. It's not going to be a 2 a.m. kind of thing going on.
Oh, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the NPU? Jared?
Hi, thank you. Just one. As the developer, are you intending to operate all the establishments too? Because some of the things you're talking about sound like operational for the tenants.
Exactly. Yes, it's the family-owned company that's looking to develop this parcel will also be operating it. They have 7 grown children, and each one has a different interest. So that's why we focused on these types of establishments, because it's going to be basically owner operated.
Any other questions from the NPU? I do have a question, Ms. Go ahead. I'm sorry, someone's talking.
No, that was just me. Go ahead.
I do have a question, Ms. Cornell, about your proposed project. Have you attempted to contact the owner of the gas station and the liquor store, and perhaps purchase that property to incorporate it into your development? Both of those properties are an eyesore, and we're looking to get rid of those. And it would seem if you could incorporate those 2 parcels or those 2 areas into your development, you could expand your lot size, and then maybe you could add some residential to this particular parcel.
That's a good idea, because I was just unfortunately just focusing on this particular parcel and the one behind it. But that's a good idea, knowing that the community is not exactly supportive of those 2 locations. And I have seen them, and they definitely are in need of some renovation at the very least. So yes, we could consider that, because that would be perfect. We really want to have a sort of a Afrocentric concept. And that would help to, if we could acquire those 2 parcels, that would help with the overall concept.
Okay. Also, would you be willing to enter into a community benefits agreement where we would outline our needs for security, as well as lighting, as well as cameras that are connected to APD, because we have had concerns with security in this particular area and want to make sure that whatever you propose in this location, it can stay viable and it could become a good point of interest in our neighborhood.
Yes, one of the biggest concerns that would be a security plan. And the fact is, I live in the NPU next door, and that is a consideration for that NPU as well. So definitely, I'm talking about NPUP. So yes, we would be willing to enter into that kind of agreement to cover the safety aspects for this parcel.
Okay, and since what I understood you to say was that you would not allow ingress and egress on Mount Gilead, it would all be on Campbellton Road. Is it your intent to build another building on that side as well, or are you trying to do some type of outdoor dining or outdoor space or anything of that nature?
I'm sorry, that was me misspeaking. We would allow entrance, egress and ingress from the Mount Gilead Road. It's just that we want to focus most of it on Campbellton. So it's a larger 4-lane roadway, but we're not going to close off the Mount Gilead Road.
Okay, knowing that, would you be willing to only allow ingress on Mount Gilead and then ingress and egress on Campbellton?
Yes, and I can understand why you would ask that, because there's residential areas to the north and the northwest and the west. So we would consider that, yes.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of things that we would like to see on your site plan prior to us making a recommendation from the NPU. So if you could work on those things and get us a site plan back in the next month, then we may be able to provide a recommendation for you. But at this time, we're just going to, we would respectfully request to defer your application until next month.
Understood. And one last thing, the event space, the team is willing to allow the NPU and other community organizations to be able to use that space for meetings free of charge.
Thank you so much. We would certainly appreciate that. We've been looking for a spot to have our NPU meetings because we're just growing by leaps and bounds as people move into the community.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay, Robin, that was wonderful. That was wonderful. Claps.
But what's your recommendation on an MR?
Say one more time.
What would be the recommendation?
I don't think that you need to change the district. I think you need to submit an SAP that would include a special administrative permit, because all the uses that you have listed are allowed in the SPI. The SPI allows you a great amount of density. The only thing you would need to do is to submit an SAP that meets all of the design criteria for an SAP and submit the application. You would submit the application to our office. A copy would go to the NPU, and then the conversation would begin from there with related to how the site is laid out, what the site's going to look like, the kinds of uses that you have on there. A community benefits agreement usually is not negotiated during an SAP, but I have seen successfully NPUX be able to move the needle and do that. It's just a matter of having a coordinated effort when you receive the SAP and the ability to read what the request is and respond to the owner, the applicant of the property, what your needs and desires are.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Jacob?
Yeah. So where would we find, because we have a lot of stuff coming up in our particular neighborhood, and where do we find and stay on top of these SAPs and things like that?
The SAP is sent to if there is one submitted for a particular property in your NPU, it is sent to your neighborhood planning unit president, as well as, only to the neighborhood planning unit president, because we don't send those to the zoning contact. And you probably want to connect with whomever your NPU person is, your chairperson is, and find out if they've been receiving any. If it's in the Beltline or is zoned NC, they have to send it to the NPU chairperson by mail. So they have to get a mailed copy. But if it's not in any of those districts, you would just receive a courtesy copy from the Office of Zoning and Development.
Okay, thank you.
All right, who's next? Jacob, I thought you were about to do your homework assignment.
I am going to apologize right now. I have tons of homework going on for the neighborhood.
I see.
We have a lot of things happening right now. And so I've been trying to get prepared for a bunch of big stuff that we have. And working with the community is very time consuming. And it's one of those things that you don't really get a whole lot of, pats on the back for. So
No kidding.
I apologize for not doing my homework. I feel like a horrible student, but I am soaking this all in tonight. So
Okay.
I appreciate you having me tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome. Brenda?
Yes, thank you. I would just like to go back to the plan about the senior living. I know you said that the SPI on Camilton Road would accommodate senior living, but would you have to change the land use or just the SPI covers everything?
It covers everything. You don't have to change the land use. The land use is mixed use, which is pretty much allows, the compatibility is there for the zoning regulations. But if you were a developer and you wanted to do senior living, you may even want to consider senior living that includes assisted living or what's the word when long-term care.
Oh, okay.
So you could do a whole community where you can start out in independent living, and then if you transition out, as in go on to glory, you have lived on that property for so long, you go from independent living to assisted living to long-term care to transitioning on to glory.
Okay, thank you. Because there is a facility like that in Union City where they have different buildings for different needs. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. In the SPI, however, the assisted living component would require a special use permit. So while you could develop, by right, you could do the multifamily and the senior living, you would have to apply for the special use permit to do the assisted living. Okay, all right, who's next? I'm trying to remember who else contacted me about their homework. Howard, you want to go?
Yes, Kathy
ahead.
and I will go together. Kathy Bomer and I.
Okay, good. Oh, a double team. Okay, I like it.
Well, we'll see how it goes. And Kathy will share the screen of our presentation and we'll both talk. So Kathy,
Hang
let's
on, let me, let's see, I can share this, right? Share screen.
Yeah.
Samantha may have to give you permission.
Oh. Can you guys see it?
Yes, now we can.
Yes, right. Well, we thought it'd be good to find out some information about the neighborhood around us, since on three sides there is already housing. We did find in the GSI that the median housing price is about $435,000. The house values are about $124,000. Median rent is a little over $900. Population's around 7,000. The median household income, that's combined husband and wife, is about 40,000. The individual income is about 22,000. I found this interesting too, that about 53% of the units are rented and 7% are owned. So there are a lot of families and young professionals in the area. Kind of a drawback though is the houses are older. It's very heavily wooded. The good thing is there are lots of parks, but there's mostly fast food restaurants, not much more than that. And then other information on the property, we found the owner, it is in City Council District 11, NPUR. It's in the Southwest neighborhood, obviously SPI 20, found that. The land use code is multiple use, and the land use description is mixed use with density. Then we have a picture of the property from above. This shows us what we're doing with Campbellton Road on one side and then Mount Gilead on the other. And this is another photo of the area. So our suggestion is, based on the vacancy of the current buildings and this data that we just provided, and the shortage of affordable housing in Atlanta, I think our recommendation is a combination of rental and residential housing, along with an adjacent park, as well as a dog park that could possibly be the best use of the property. And Kathy, would you like to go ahead with the next paragraph?
Sure. So to that end, we recommended MRMU, which kind of brings in that missing middle housing. The other thing we thought of is the city's had a lot of discussions about affordable housing, trying to provide more affordable housing. So we recommended an additional inclusionary zoning that would basically include an overlay a la the West Side Park Affordable Workforce Housing Overlay District. So, which I believe is the city's first application of inclusionary zoning, and would basically require that I believe is 10% of for sale homes would be set aside for, you know, affordable purposes, and 25% of the rentals. To try to really try to achieve that affordable housing, you know, goal that we're looking for. The other thing is we found that this address is close to multiple bus stops, as you can see in this picture here, which would allow, especially with the if more affordable housing, not everybody's going to have a car. You might only have one car per family. But then those, and it's close enough that folks could get a bus and take it to, well, what I found, there were MARTA stations to the west of that. If they needed, you know, rail to get into the city or something to go to work or school.
All right, then we were looking online to find out what kind of housing would we put. So I did find this kind of a duplex, and I really like this one because it has a garage and the availability for another car to park in front of the garage. We know parking is such an issue in this city, so that at least the owner could park in the garage and one guest could park in front of the garage. So the garage is on the basement. It is a 1-bedroom, 1 full bath, 2-car garage. It's rather small, only 689 square feet, but it does have a kitchen, a living area, and a bedroom, and the bathroom upstairs. Then the second unit we looked at was townhouses, which is a little bit bigger, just to take care of some families. It's 1,277 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 full bath, 1 3/4 bath and a half bath, and again with the garage where the owner can park 1 car in and 1 car in front. So if they're having families, that would take care of 2 cars. And again, on the floor, we have the family room, the dining area, the kitchen, the bathroom. Then above, there are 3 bedrooms. Then the next 2 pages, or next sections, are just the side and the right and the rear end. Pictures of the side and the rear. How we would lay this out is kind of a challenge, not being an architect and not knowing how to place this. This is just a sample. So on the left-hand side, the example 1 homes are the duplexes, and example 2 homes are the townhouses. And they would be back to back, basically, with a green space in between and a fence separating them. We'd have a road on the far left and a road on the far right between the park. And underneath that park, we would put a dog park that would accommodate everyone. And hopefully the park would be set up for families so they could use it for their children. And how would we do the roads? Well, I think we would exit enter on Campbellton and at least have 1 exit on Mount Gilead as well. I'm sure there's probably room for more houses, more rows, but again, not being an architect, I'm not sure how to go about doing that. And before we would do this, obviously we would hire someone to draw it out for us. Kathy, anything else you would add, Kathy?
I don't think so. We were kind of looking at the, we were also looking at the intent of the SPI 20 SPI, and we kind of feel that this particular plan does meet some of the requirements, like create an urban environment where people can live, work, meet, and play. It improves the aesthetics, encourages a nice mix of residential, maybe not commercial, cultural, and recreation. Well, maybe recreational with the park. But you know, provides a sufficient, safe, accessible parks, reduces parking requirements by encouraging the shared parking, also having those garages, and also the alternative modes of transportation, since you do have the, you know, you have the bus system and the rail system not too far away.
I probably would duplicate this on the right-hand side of the park, the same thing. And then the road would be going around the park on both sides. I know there's a lot more that we could do with this, but this is what we have so far.
Rome was not built in a day.
Thank you,
Yes,
Ms. Bomer and
correct.
Mr. Hodges.
Yes.
Are there questions from the NPU? Pardon? Pardon, you're on mute. You remuted yourself. We can hear you now, I think. Hardin, go ahead. We can hear you now.
Okay. Everything that you've talked about sounds okay. But a while back, I heard making the argument about the rail system running down the middle of Campbellton Road. How would that affect what you're talking about now?
So,
If that would come into play.
okay, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that again? My phone started ringing.
The rail system coming down the center of Campbellton Road.
We didn't recommend that. I just said that there's MARTA rail. As I saw it on the map, it looks like it's to the west of this, but close into the development would be MARTA buses that if folks needed to take rail, they could probably get a bus to that rail or take the bus wherever they need to take it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that it was an argument a while back that Martha had promised Campbellton Road that they would run a rail system down the middle of that street.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Didn't see that anywhere in the research.
I mean, they were
did.
talking about it.
Yeah, I didn't see anything when we were looking at this.
Okay.
If I could just interject.
Go
So
ahead.
it's undetermined what MARTA is going to provide, whether they are going to provide a BRT or light rail. But if they were to provide either of them, and say perhaps your development was there, can you provide a location for your residents to access either the BRT or the light rail? And would you consider adding more units if that was realized?
I think, yes, definitely a space for them to board the light rail. Yes, I think that'd be a good thing to do. If there are many people living there, it'd be great. Then they wouldn't have to have cars so much.
Maybe we could
And
build
more
some
units,
kind of,
yes.
some kind of
Go ahead.
a, almost like a little station with the platform, just to make it a little bit safer, and make it easy for ingress and egress into the housing development.
Andre?
Then no, I might have missed this. What is the kind of average pricing for these townhomes? One of the concerns for the neighborhood is, one, we want something that kind of fits the neighborhood, but we don't want something that's gonna pretty much put the people who live around this development in a predicament where they can't pay their taxes. And you mentioned earlier kind of the median income of the neighborhood. So of course we want to increase that, but not too drastically where it becomes kind of harmful to the surrounding neighborhood. So again, median.
Well, I know the median price to build a house is about $110 per square foot. So we would try to accommodate the value of the houses in that area and also the rent and the income as well.
Would you have a ballpark estimate based on kind of current figures of the average value of the homes in the area?
I did not get that information. I'm sorry. I'd have to do some more research on that.
That's all I have right now.
Jared?
And if I missed this, I apologize, but how many units did you think you would create on the space on the lot?
Again, I would have to check with an architect to see how much we could do. We scroll down a little bit, Kathy. I was looking at the last page, Kathy. Little more. One more. Kind of like blocks like this, kind of keeping it as simple as possible and not too close together, but to maximize the use of the land too.
Robin?
Okay, so the second question I had is, I like the two-story townhouse look. I heard you mention green space. How would you work that into the plan? Would you consider there's a large tract behind the space that I think was used as a barrier to the next neighborhood? How would you incorporate green space into this?
Actually, if I were to do green space, we have the park, as you can see on the screen here. I do a dog park underneath it. Then I would put two more rows of housing to the right. Then the green space would be between the housing areas, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that would be a good way to sort of encapsulate it.
Right,
Be easy to monitor and maintain for the community.
right.
Okay.
Okay, Andre?
Just thinking about the plan and layout for the development. What considerations have you made for city services, like mail, if there's a fire, accounting for kind of allowing the fire trucks to be able to get in and out efficiently, because that is a denser development. I don't want that fire to spread throughout all the houses.
Right. We would make sure that all the roads are at least 30 feet wide, so there's plenty of entrance and exit capabilities.
And then in terms of mail, will it be kind of a central location, or would they have
I
mailboxes?
think like many complexes, they have central mailboxes. I think that probably would be a consideration for this. And easier for the mailman too.
And then I guess my last question, before kind of we move on. Lighting. Again, this is the area that's in redevelopment. This development could be helpful to the community, but we want to make sure that we have the lighting and again, security that will allow the new neighbors to kind of thrive without kind of being chased out or run away, which would lead to more rental properties, which goes against what we're trying to do here with kind of
Right.
owners. So is there a plan in place to kind of make sure that that's in place?
Well, off the top of my head, I would just include appropriate street lighting throughout the complex.
And also on the front, the houses themselves. I mean, we found in our neighborhood that, we've told everybody in our neighborhood that it sounds simple, but turn on that front porch light, because it really does make a difference on whether your house is going to get hit or not. And we routinely do a check of all of our street lighting. We do audits on it. So with this development, we would definitely make sure street lighting was good, that each house, the front of each house and the back actually would have
Right.
good lighting that people could turn on, and, just for safety measures.
Yeah, extra lighting in the park areas too.
Last one, bus stops. We're adding more people. That means probably more kids. Are we considering a place for kids to catch the bus in this new area?
If we're going to incorporate an area for the mailboxes, I think that would be possible to do a bus stop area too in the same area, near the entrance to the complex.
Jacob?
Yes, so affordable housing is always a hot topic, and it definitely plays a big part of how the neighborhood continues to grow in the right directions. I do like that you have smaller square footprints, for these particular properties. And maybe I missed this, but is home ownership a part of that as far as the smaller units? Are they for resale?
Yes, so we had a mix of rental and home ownership, and as one of our recommendations was, I mean, if it was possible, because I'm not completely clear on the inclusionary zoning that was done for West Side Park overlay district, but to do something similar to that, where there would be a certain percentage of for sale and rental properties that were set aside for affordable housing.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. LaRue.
Thank you. So I have two questions, and one of them is around the look of the home. I saw that there were two options. One was traditional and one was modern. I'm just wondering if there was any effort put into respecting the character of the area in terms of the style of homes that are in the Southwest in general and the Southwest neighborhood.
I think the colonial homes probably comes closer to that. We're just trying to kind of think outside the box here as far as what we could do. I mean, we can easily, if people want, if the general thought is that these should be more in character with what's already there, certainly could do that. But it, either whether it's the townhomes or the duplexes, that would be easy to do. I kind of like the look of the townhomes, but if that's going to be something that people are like, that doesn't fit in with our neighborhood, we can easily change that.
Correct.
Yeah, I like the look of the townhomes too, just not in my neighborhood.
Okay.
I'm in character, but I really do need that. My other question.
Is that a NIMBY moment there, Lee?
Well, when we go to the neighborhood association, we would ask the question, what do you like and what don't you like? And be open to suggestions and change, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit NIMBY-ish, but I think it's valid because it speaks to protecting the character of the neighborhood and not, traditional style homes next to these modern looking homes that probably work better on the east side or other parts of Atlanta. So my other question was around you all mentioned in your presentation, and it's not uncommon that 53% of the residents there are owners and 47 are renters or vice versa. I'm wondering if you all plan to do if you have a marketing program or plan that targets existing residents to have the first opportunity to purchase these homes, so that we don't have people, so we're not shipping in people from Peachtree City and Loganville and Snellville and everywhere else to buy these homes while our people that are here get pushed out.
Are you talking about folks that already live in the area?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that would be very easy to do. And do some kind of a community outreach to give them first shot, a first look at what's going to be going in, what the benefits are, what the cost is going to be, and we could definitely do that. That would probably, I like that idea.
Oh, thank you. That's all for me. Thank you.
Robin, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. One of the things we have found out, just as an FYI, some of the South Side neighborhoods are trying to attract more younger folks and want a lot of yard. They like the townhouse concept. So I guess it would really depend on what the neighbors would have to say, but I dare say you probably would get a lot of people interested in that because it's less yard to take care of. But the question I had to do with, the gas station and the service station on the corner. You didn't mention anything about any kind of a barrier between those parcels and this larger 10 acres that you're looking at. Are you considering any kind of a fencing or barrier between those parcels and yours? Because I
would think that That
like
would
to
be a
see-
good thing to do. Yes, definitely we'll be doing that.
We're not looking for a gated community, but just some kind of
No.
barrier since those are commercial properties.
I think like
Right.
some nice trees, a grove of trees or something like that would be nice. I like at my house, I planted Italian cypress because they grow so fast. I got a 18-inch cypress and it grew to the bottom edge of my roof in 1 year. By the second year, it was halfway up over the roof, and by the third year, it was at the top of my roof, and now it's way over my roof. So they grow nice and fast. They're very elegant and they're pretty and they're great for if you want them from screening. So that would be something that we could think about doing.
Right, and then I'm also thinking because Camilton Road is a busy thoroughfare, you might need to put just for security purposes, not the fence would need to be all around the entire property, but at least on that front corner. I think that a fence, a nice fence along with that nice landscaping you described would be
Mhm.
appropriate.
Yeah, there would be a pleasant entry into the complex,
Yes.
an appropriate and a pleasing entry.
Yeah, we don't want this to just look like some schlocky, development we just threw in there. I mean, we want it to look, we want people to be proud, when they come home and it's restful and they feel like they're glad to be home and it looks nice. So we would definitely be adding, appropriate landscaping and just, make sure that depending on what the final architecture is, but just make it so it's something that people are proud of, whether it's a young person just starting out, they don't have a lot of money to really afford something bigger somewhere else, but we want them, we want everyone to feel like this is my home and I'm really proud of it. And I feel good coming home because this is a nice place to live.
And encourage a strong neighborhood association, homeowners or resident association for that area.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Bomer and Mr. Hodges for coming to our MPU tonight and presenting to us. We do have a few questions, outstanding questions. So this month we're not able to provide you with a recommendation, but respectfully, we would like to ask you to defer your application for 60 days so that we can work on your site plan and come up with conditions, if any, for this project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, that was really great, you guys. And that is another idea: townhouses, duplexes, MRMU buildings, which are woefully needed in the city. Those small apartment buildings. It's a really good idea and really great questions associated with it. But of course, you guys, you're pros at asking these questions from your MPUs. There's one thing I want to talk about was the West Side Park overlay. That overlay is the first inclusionary zoning overlay in the city that incorporates a requirement on for sale product. The other two inclusionary zoning overlays only on for rent product. That would be the Beltline overlay, inclusionary zoning in the West Side neighborhoods. There is not another IZ that is being currently vetted in the city. When the current mayor was running for office, he does have an interest in expanding inclusionary zoning. There are some hurdles from the state that probably will have to be addressed before he does that, but he does have that on his agenda. Jacob, you have a question?
Yes, you just had mentioned that with the Beltline overlay that they are encouraged to have home ownership. we run into a particular issue here in Chosewick Park with we have the Beltline overlay, but we also have the opportunity tax zone. So we have a lot of developers that come in and want to take advantage of the opportunity tax zone, which that in turn pushes them more towards the rental from the funding side from the renters. How would we go about asking for or hoping to incorporate more home ownership out of these particular projects?
That is when we get down to the developer's numbers and what their return on the investment is, and their the dollars, the public dollars that they're asking for. If I was involved in my NPU, which I'm not, I live in NPUP, but I'm not involved in my NPU because of the work that I do. But if someone came to my NPU and said to me they were considering a project, but they were going to use public dollars, which means they got to come back to me at some point and ask for what's the letter called, Leah? The letter that you write to invest.
A letter of support?
Letter of support, that's what it is. The letter of support from my NPU, I would use that, or whomever is the group that's meeting with them would use that as leverage in my conversation. You're going to use public dollars to build your project. We are seeking a balance of home ownership and for rent product in our neighborhood or in our NPU. Would you consider increasing the number or providing a certain number of home ownership in this development? And they say no, I don't think I should write a letter of support to that NPU. Like, that should not come from us, because I'm asking you to provide me what I want. Is listed in my CDP plan, is listed in any of my policies that I put in my CDP, or any small area plans. I've clearly stated to you, I want to have a balance between home ownership and rent, and you're using public dollars and you're asking me for support. I can't support you if you're not giving me what I want.
I 100% agree with that. And we've got one case in particular where it's a large land lot, 40 acres, the old GM plant, that was already had their zoning approved back in 2006. And the developer now is coming and saying they are taking advantage of the opportunity tax zone, and that they are, come bring 2,500 units and they're all going to be for rental. Do we have a play as far as?
Unfortunately, you don't have a play in that one, Jacob. I have talked to that developer, and he I've talked to him. Unfortunately, there isn't a play in that particular situation.
Okay, so really,
because the entitlement is already in place.
Yeah, and so really for future moving forward, it becomes something that we should look into for, like, maybe site conditions and things for SAPs and for rezoning. For each
Yes.
individual lot.
Yes. And they also make sure, it's very important that when that item comes up on the Invest Atlanta agenda, that, or whatever agenda it comes up on, that you all are present and stating your concerns associated with that particular project.
Okay, thank you, Kia.
You're welcome. Okay, and I think that was all the follow-up I had on Howard and Kathy. Okay, are there any other questions before we handle the last one? It's 7:33, so it's probably the last homework assignment. So our last one we'll go through. So who is the last person that we're going to talk to tonight? Somebody. You're not getting out of class at 7:33. That's not gonna happen. Somebody.
Well, while they're thinking, I had a question, Kiara. The opportunity tax zone, where can we find out if we have any of those in our NPU? Would that be?
There is a map. There's an opportunity zone map.
Okay.
I don't think it's posted on the web, but Councilwoman Overstreet might be able to provide you with a copy.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Am I going to have to call on somebody? I hate to call on somebody.
Well, I'm Bonnie Brown. I'll say something, if I may.
Okay, go ahead, Bonnie.
Well, I tried to do this. This is all new language to me, and but I'm interested in it, and I looked at it multiple times and realized I had so many questions, and I did not call you because I imagined you had work to do, and my questions are so juvenile at this point. But what I gather from this is that what affects zoning decisions is the impact it would have on the neighborhood, so that the neighbors of the site that's going to be changed need to be considered. so it sounds to me like maybe that's the place to start. Just to get a feel, because it sounds like the NPUs have the biggest power in this initially as to whether or not, okay. And then my other question is, zoning in Atlanta has changed over time. For instance, I know that Midtown had to go through major zoning changes to let Midtown high-rise buildings happen when there were houses. So is there, if a property has gone through zoning changes and someone wanted it to go back to what it was before, is there any purpose in referencing to what prior zoning had been, or did you just start with how it is now?
Well, Bonnie, I don't really, let's just take the Midtown example, in SPI 16, which is what Midtown is zoned except for the Garden District, which is R5. The process to allow SPI 16 in Midtown to become what it was took the neighborhood, but Midtown Alliance to draw up in the city to draw up the regulations that created it. It is very hard, or I've not ever seen something as big as SPI 16 and what it allows to
Hold
be
on,
down.
somebody's screaming out of my house. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm sorry, my dog got out and the neighbor was screaming. I can go back to mute and not take any more time. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. So
it's very rare that there is a down zoning that will take away the entitlement that allowed it to upzone. I'm not going to say it is not a possibility or that it could happen, but it's just as much effort as it took to upzone it is the effort it would take to downzone it.
okay, so when I look at this Campbellton Road, for instance, it's important for what it is now as to what it could become.
Yeah.
So okay. And to check with the neighbors, when you say neighbors, how far do you think that is? Is that
When
in
a
the
developer,
whole block or the?
When a developer comes to my office and they're seeking to rezone a piece of property, I tell them, go talk to the neighborhood association president, which is the neighborhood in which the property is located, and to the NPU.
Okay.
Because most NPUs, if not all of them, are set up by whatever the recommendation from the neighborhood association is, will be the recommendation that is sent to the NPU, right?
Okay.
Or even sometimes it serves as the recommendation from the NPU. So those are the two most important bodies, neighborhood association and NPU. If it's a rezoning for something like residential, I tell whomever the developer or the applicant is, you need to talk to the immediate neighbors, because it's the immediate neighbors who are going to be living next to that residence. It's a group home. It's you add an addition to your house. All those things are going to affect your most immediate neighbors. So you want to talk to them. And then even if you've talked to the NPU, you've talked to the neighborhood association, and you still want to get other support, I also, go and talk to all the other immediate neighbors and get them to your NPU meeting. I've seen that actually change a vote, actually. So all those people are important in the process.
And so, okay, all right, I appreciate it. I'm trying to learn the language that you all are using here. I'm working on it. Thank you.
Okay. So Clarice, you should, if it's a project that is going to require a CBA, you should be considering the CBA at the point you start the discussions. So by the time that the NPU has made the recommendation that's going to be presented to the zoning review board, your CBA should also be drafted and signed. Like you should not come to ZRB and still need your CBA signed, because at that point, once we have the public hearing, the board makes their decision and it goes to city council. Certainly the city council can hold it in committee, but you want to have that kind of stuff already worked out. Cynthia?
I'm here.
Yes, ma'am.
I had a question. I did a mock, my assignment was done like a mock of 3131 Hamilton Road. And I did not thoroughly understand what I was supposed to have done.
Okay.
But I've gotten a whole lot of insight now since I understood. I am understanding what was to be done.
Okay. Okay. I'm glad you did. And please don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to reach out to me while we are very busy. I can take a call. If I don't call you back, you always leave a voicemail, and I can also return emails probably a little bit quicker than I can voicemails. But if you can get me on the phone and I answer, go ahead and answer the question and ask the question. I'm more than happy to be responsive to you at any time that you get me.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or anyone who wants to do their presentation? I can tell you that I had you all do this exercise because I wanted you to understand, one, what an applicant goes through, and then two, how you respond to what an applicant provides to you in a presentation. I liked it when Robin and Kathy and Howard showed images, because people, some people are responsive to images and some people are responsive to words. And if you're talking to a group of people and you don't know exactly who you're talking to, both of those things are good to provide information. Two, I did not hear any reference to, I went and read the Reimagined Greenbrier plan or the Campbellton Road corridors redevelopment plan, or the Campbellton Road corridors plan. Both of those plans lay out all of the desires of both NPUP and NPUR with regard to Campbellton Road and what they want to see on Campbellton Road. Even when a developer comes to me and says, I want to do a project, I say, have you read the small area plan? Have you read the CDP? That is where the community has spoken as to what they want to have in those particular areas. The other thing is, from a staff perspective, the corridors are the growth areas. And if you spend any time looking at Google and looking at Campbellton Road, you will notice that it is immediately bordered by a lot of single-family residential homes. And those homes at this point in the comprehensive development plan are requested to be preserved and kept. So that means to keep the pressure off of the single-family homes, the growth is on the corridor or on Campbellton Road. So there is the ability to add single-family residential, multifamily residential in townhomes or in tall buildings on Campbellton Road to keep the pressure off of these single-family homes. That's an idea. That's for any corridor, Campbellton, Cascade, Northside, Howell Mill, any of the corridors in the city, to keep the pressure off of the single-family homes. The development should go on the corridor. All right. I guess you guys want me to let you go 15 minutes early, because I don't have one last person that's brave enough to come up with their homework assignment.
May I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, Bonnie.
So I live on a major corridor road, but it's all still residential. And I seem to think that eventually in 20 years, it's going to all be commercial. Is there any way that that has been planned and that the people living on the street don't know it yet?
Not necessarily. Some corridors are still residential. I can tell you that Memorial Drive as you go east into Decatur in DeKalb County, there are a number of townhomes and still very few commercial on Memorial Drive. So there are portions of corridors that are still totally residential and some that are a combination of residential and non-residential.
So there's not a secret zoning book. that
There is
has-
no secret zoning, but we have no secrets. Everything we have is public.
Okay.
Sondi, I saw your hand. Jacob?
Yeah, so and while I've got some FaceTime with you, because I know you're busy and I try to stay away from asking too many questions, but I know you're aware of what we've got going on over in Chosewood Park. Is there a way for me to, because I have a hard time with the Acela, sometimes being able to pull up particular information when I get emails or things from constituents. Is there a way, is there something that I could do differently to search particular projects, to be able to find out not only maybe where the application process is at, but also to kind of find out where they have complaints and things like that as well?
So that's 3 different modules, actually. You've got the planning applications, you've got the building permit applications, and then you have zoning violations or complaints. And everything has a different prefix, I should say. So if you're in Acela and you're looking for, say, a planning application, you're looking for the prefix is either SAP, Z, V. I'll put this in an email and send it to Sam.
Okay.
For subdivision, it's an S. For lot consolidation, it's LR or CON. Then for building permits, a BB is an actual permit. And then you have all the trade permits. So BW is for water, BS is for sign. And then a complaint would be, I think it's COMP. I think that's how a complaint is listed. But if you still get those and you get the prefixes and you can't find what you're looking for, you can always reach out to customer service either in planning or in buildings. My customer service manager is Nicole Mitchell, and her email address is nymitchell@atlantaga.gov. And I do not know Tiana's email off the top of my head, but the phone number for buildings is 404-330-6150.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Leah? Well, let me go to Sondi first because you're an employee. Hold on a second. Sondi?
I just wanted to say thank you. These 2 sessions have been really good. And what my homework plan was to pretty much keep it commercial. And I thought about a small hospital and breaking up some of the concrete and all of that, but I didn't go as in depth because I was thinking of just decreasing the concrete and making it a use that we don't have anywhere near. But it got a whole lot more complicated just because I wanted to do that. But what I really wanted to say was thank you. It was interesting, and I think it was very useful to put us through these paces, just as you described your reasons. And I appreciate what everybody's done, and I appreciate what you guys bring to us. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome, Sondi. Kathy?
So this kind of goes back to what Bonnie was asking, but is there a city mandate? I know the city wants density, density, density. Is there a mandate that the corridors have got to be built up? I mean, if there's corridors that have mostly homes, single family homes, is there a push to try to get rid of those homes and put in like really dense developments? And also, are all corridors considered equal? Because I would consider like Ponce corridor, which by the way, does not have really much density as far as, height and the size of the buildings, but is that considered equal to say a corridor like 10th Street?
No, all corridors are not equal. We will take you through a process, or you probably already been through a process of comprehensive development plans. I know when we did the 2016 plan, we were in person, and Jessica brought the maps out, and you are able to, the neighborhoods and the MPUs are able to use the maps to, determine where they want growth to be and what kind of growth they want to be there. I would presume that as we move to the 2025 CDP and we go back to in person, that same type of concept may be used. And while the Atlanta City Design identifies corridors as growth areas, I do believe that it will be the communities themselves that determine what that growth is and how that growth appears over a period of time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Leah, last question, Leah.
Well, I only raised my hand because they dock my pay when we end the classes early. So I didn't end the class early. I have a vested interest in making sure we go to 8 o'clock. I'm just kidding.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
For those that don't know, I'm joking. I'm just joking. They only dock our pay if we end an hour early. So I was, and seriously, I really was only raising my hand because at that time it was 7:40 and we had a little time to play with. But I was wondering if you could, and this is a really broad and generic kind of question, but I'm wondering if you can tell the group what are the first things that every zoning committee or neighborhood association or MPU should be looking at when they receive a development application, an application for a new development. Like, what are those? No matter what the development is, you must do this and you must do that and you must do that.
Okay. No matter what the request is, you should read the application from front to back. You should pay particular attention to the impact analysis, because the impact analysis will detail what the applicant is proposing. So before any committee meets, whomever the people are on the committee, everyone needs to read the application to determine what it is being requested. If you are not familiar with the requested zoning district, you should go to the zoning ordinance and read the entire characteristics of that district from beginning to end, and paying particular attention to the statement of interest. The statement of interest identifies why that district was created and what it was created to do. Next thing you should do is go to or have someone assigned to your small area plans or to your comprehensive development plan, and then determine if what the request is, one, is consistent with what you desire in that location, and two, if it's not consistent with what you desire in that location, is it a possibility that you have not ever considered it and you want to accept that particular request in that particular location? Like you realize, oh, this may not be a detriment to the neighborhood. It's consistent with character. It's consistent with other ideals and goals that we have. And it would not be a bad idea to do this in this location with some conditions, with some caveats, or perhaps you just accept it with no conditions. And those are the things you should do off the top.
Thank you so much. That was helpful. I tried to capture it as best I could and drop it in the chat. Thank you, Kiera.
Okay. Kathy?
Yes.
You still had your hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sounds supposed to be
Taryn?
up.
Hi, good evening. I took your Fundamentals 1 class last year, and so I hopped on for this one. Is there a cheat sheet kind of with all the zoning codes from residential to commercial? That's my first question. And my second question, will you guys offer a part? I know this is Zoning Fundamentals 2, but is like a part 2 to this class going to be offered prior to going to Fundamentals 3, or we're just moving on to Fundamentals 3?
Fundamentals 3 is the next class. It is the lab. Considering the feedback that we got today, I will probably do what I did last year and find a project that has been submitted that was a particular controversy or issue or concern, and we'll go through that application from the beginning to the end and let you all ask questions and comment on it, and provide feedback. So there will be a lab. It will be Fundamentals 3. I will not test you, but I will not test you on paper, so you won't get anything scored, but I will test you and all the information you've received in Fundamentals 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. And where can I access the cheat sheet with all the codes?
I sent that to Sam and she'll send it out to the class registrants.
Yep, I was actually about to send it to you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, guys, it is 7:55. I'm going to give you 5 minutes of your night back to go and sit on your porch and have a beer in the nice warmth that we have before it starts pouring down raining. Hardin, you have a question before we go?
Wait, we have a question? Oh.
On the cheat sheet,
Well-
you will send it to everyone?
Yes, I can send it to everyone. That's not a problem.
Okay, I'd like a copy myself.
Absolutely. So if Miss Kieta is done, I would like to thank everyone for participating on tonight's
Good night, everyone.
Zoning Fundamentals 2. Kieta, you did an awesome job per usual. Our next courses that are coming up would be our start of our economic development series. This is a partnership we have with Invest Atlanta. The first course is CD 1004.001, Introduction to Invest Atlanta, and it's Thursday, April 14th at 6 p.m. The following course we will have for that month will be CD 1001, which is Workforce Development. That's also on a Thursday, April 28th at 6 p.m. I look forward to everyone registering at npuatlanta.org. And if you also would like to follow us on social media, we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at NPU Atlanta. And we are also on the Nextdoor app under City of Atlanta Neighborhood Planning Units. Everyone should have received maybe 10 minutes ago an evaluation form for this course. Please complete it for us. We like to make our NPU University work for you, but we can't do it without your feedback. So please, if you get a chance, complete that evaluation.
Samantha, I have a
Does the evaluation take? How long does it take to complete the?
It is less than 3 minutes.
Oh, wonderful.
May I ask a quick question, Samantha, regarding the Invest Atlanta? Is it April 14th or April 7th?
It was initially April 7th, but it is actually April 14th. And it's updated on the web page as well.
Okay, I'll go back and register for that one. Thank you very much.
No problem. Do we have any more questions, anyone?
Feel free to use your extra 2 minutes completing the survey.
That'd be really nice, guys. Thank you so much.
Night, thanks.
Thank you, Samantha. Everyone. This was a really, really great class, and it looks like everyone agrees. Thank you all so much.